To quote Dan Quayle, a mind is a terrible thing to lose. Of course, I know many people don't quote Dan Quayle, and he did mean to say a mind is a terrible thing not to use. But hey, this is a comedy tape, so anyway, I want to talk about how doctors determine whether you're sane, and this may surprise, well, I think this will surprise everyone. I don't know. I know I was surprised. Anyway, I thought I was a pretty ordinary person, you know. But what happened to me, my sanity was once in question, and I could understand why, of course, because I have a very rare condition that maybe only 1 out of every billion people have, and that condition is that I'm actually allergic to land. And you know, I was always on the seacoast, and I found out accidentally that I was allergic to lands when I joined the Navy. What happened, the Navy had sent me several hundred miles inland to a place where the air was very heavy and swampy, and as soon as I got off the plane, I actually collapsed into a field, you know, that was full of mud. And then I thought, well, what's going on here? And I kept on getting dizzy and collapsing, and finally I started to think to myself, you know, I'm a pretty healthy person, and I don't know what's causing this. And then I started thinking, is it because, you know, I'm allergic to land, because I was like having a hard time breathing and everything. So anyway, I went to Navy sick bay, and I told them I've been getting dizzy and everything, and they said, well, what do you think the problem is? I said, I know this might sound odd, but I think I'm allergic to land. I've never been this far inland before, and I feel like this is just killing me. So they said, well, you know, the tests for being allergic to land are very expensive. It would cost the Navy about $350,000 just to give you the series of tests for that. You know, we would rather avoid that if we could. But if you really think you are allergic to land, then there's one thing we'd have to check out first before we spend all this money on the test. And I said, what's that? Well, yeah, they said, well, we'd have to make sure that you're sane, because maybe you lost your mind somehow, and you know, we don't know, but we can't do this test. So if you really want us to do the test, you first have to submit to a test to make sure that you're sane. I said, well, okay, I know I'm sane. I know I'm not losing my mind. I think I am. So anyway, I agreed to take the test because I needed something done. I was getting dizzy by the day. So anyway, they sent me to one of the top Navy places in the whole globe, and they gave me a test to check my sanity. So they loaded me up with wires. I had all these wires coming out of my head and everything, and I really didn't know what they were doing, what the wires were all about. And anyway, and I had this nurse, you know, that kept adjusting the wires. That was very endowed, you know, let's say. So after they finished the test, I said, well, what's the story? And they said, well, you're not only sane, but you're super sane. We never got a higher score on this test in Navy history. I said, what do you mean? They said, well, the test you were taking was a test that was electronically monitoring your sexual thoughts, that every time you had a sexual thought, it was recorded on the machine. I said, I I don't remember even having any sexual thoughts. They said, well, most people don't know they're having a thought, but they are. So I said, well, what's unusual about my test? So, and they explained to me. They said, the average male has a sexual thought every 4 minutes. So if we give a test for that, and the subject is having, let's say, a sexual thought every 5 minutes, then we know that that subject is losing their mind, because the average is 4 minutes. I said, well, what's so unusual about my test? And they said, well, what we were astounded at was that on your test, our apparatus was registering a sexual thought every 40 seconds. So you're not only sane, but you're the sanest person that we ever found. So really, yeah, I said, well, it might have been the nurse. I mean, she kept leaning over me, and she kept putting those wires in, and she was very endowed, and I couldn't help notice. So maybe that was it. They said, no, we always use and the average person, is 4 minutes, so it's not that. So anyway, after they realized I was actually sane, then they gave me the test. They spent the $350,000 testing me to see if I was allergic to land. And sure enough, I was actually allergic to land. That's what those tests showed. So they had to put in my Navy records that I could never be far inland again. I always had to stay on the coastline. So I just thought I would share that with you. Thank you.